Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I am going to show you how to combine pen pastel and color pencils to create this blonde fur. By following these tips and tricks, you will find out how to use pen pastel as an underpainting for color pencils and finish your artwork faster. What are pen pastel? They are professional artist quality soft pastel colors in a unique pen format. Each color is loaded with the finest quality artist pigments for the most concentrated colors possible. To apply them, I am going to use these soft tools. They come in all kinds of sizes and shapes. My favorite color pencils are the Faber-Castell Polychromos. For this demonstration, I'm going to use browns, a white and a black pencil. My paper choice is the Strathmore Bristol 300 series smooth paper. This works amazing with PanPastel and I recommend it for this mixed media technique. I am Dragos Pepina, a pet portrait and wildlife artist based in Belgium. On my channel you can find easy to follow graphite, color pencils and pastel tutorials for beginners. I am always giving you tips and tricks and share everything I have learned so far. If you would like to join my small community here on YouTube, please subscribe and I hope we will see each other in the next videos as well. I started to apply the first layer of PanPastel. I made sure not to apply too much pressure and push too much pigment into the paper. If the tooth of the paper is completely covered, you won't be able to build up more layers. That means the colored pencil won't adhere anymore, making it almost impossible for you to add details. Another important tip is to apply the pastel using circular movements. This way, the pigment will be spread evenly and some unwanted brush marks will be avoided. I made that mistake a lot in the beginning, and those marks were very hard to blend in with the other ones. Of course, you won't be able to create a perfectly smooth base layer. Some small marks will still be visible, but they will disappear into the next layers. For the second layer, I picked up some more pigment and applied it the same way as the previous one. Working from light to dark is very important. At this stage, you are still able to correct the mistakes before it's too late. For example, if you'd just jump right in with a dark brown and realize you had to go lighter, that layer is still erasable, but the erasing process will damage the paper, leaving you with a muddy looking and damaged paper, making it hard to apply more layers on top. That's why it's very important to take your time when building up your layers. The third and last layer is the darkest one. Now it is time to set up where the dark fur will be placed. By using the walnut brown mixed with the orange pen pastel, I am marking those areas. Because the tooth of the paper is loaded with pigment from the previous two layers, I want to be sure I am not completely filling it up with this last one. One sign that shows the tooth of the paper is completely filled is the fact that you can't see it anymore. So, when you notice the paper is very smooth and the pencils are sliding on top of it, the damage is already done. That's why I always apply bit by bit and follow the tooth of the paper. In time, you will know when it is enough or when it can handle more layers. This technique is time saving and a very good way to black in the colors without a lot of burnishing. By using the kneaded eraser, I picked up some pigment to place the highlights areas. The kneaded eraser works great with PanPastel, and it is a very fast way to lighten up the base layers or add details. I do this step now because if I would have done it in the beginning, I would need to mind those areas and make my job harder. You need to be careful with how many times you erase, because every time you do it, the paper is being damaged. Now that the PanPastel layers are done, it's time to add details with color pencils. I chose to start with a darker shade of brown and mark the dark areas of the fur. I am able to do that now because of those PanPastel layers. All my darks and lights are blacked in and I know where to use the dark and light pencils. Without using this method, it will take me more time because I would need to create those layers with color pencils, which is time consuming, especially in very big areas. I am making sure to follow the fur growth and make very thin pencil strokes. This is an imaginary fur area. I didn't follow any reference photo, but it is still important to follow the animal's bone structure. It is very noticeable how easy the pencils are there on top of those pastels, as the paper has still enough tooth to be filled in. At this stage, keeping your pencil's tip sharp and holding it far away from the tip is key for creating evenly pencil strokes. After the dark fur layer has been applied, I burnished it using a terracotta color pencil to glaze the walnut brown color. The main reason for this is to avoid giving the fur a muddy look. I am applying a hard pressure without overdoing it, as I know the next layer will be again the walnut brown or black, those colors adhering for sure on top of it. I am using the terracotta color to connect the dark areas as well and add some texture in some light areas. I am going back and forth with the terracotta and walnut brown color to add more depth and refine the areas. It is quite a bit of layering, but I prefer to take it easy instead of hurrying and messing it up in the end, resulting in wasted time. Therefore, it's important to work slower, but towards a successful result. The photo in the corner is the finished drawing, and I want to apologize the demonstration doesn't look as dark and sharp, but the camera is always washing away some of the colors. As I mentioned before, the next step is adding more depth with a black pencil. Working with a black pencil always makes me stressed because it is very pigmented. To avoid those mistakes, applying as little pressure as possible and building it up is key. This is the last dark layer, and I want to make sure I still have enough paper tufts to fill in to achieve the darkness I want. You can notice how over this whole demonstration I held the pencil almost parallel with the paper. This is now an automatic reflex, the same with the rotating the pencil the whole time to keep it sharp as long as possible. These are two important facts to keep in mind to achieve a smooth and realistic fur. With a Tombow mono eraser, I added the highlights, using a hard pressure to reach the white of the paper for a shiny effect. The pointy eraser is ideal for highlights in the fur. It picks up the pigment really fast and leaves small marks. The only less pleasant thing is the residue it's being left behind after using it. One easy way to fix it is picking it up with the kneaded eraser, as shown in my demonstration, or dusting it away with a very soft brush. As some final touches, I went back and forth again with the walnut brown and the terracotta colors to add more contrast and soften up the hard edges, followed by using a slice tool to scrape off the pigment for finer highlights. To use this tool, you need at least 3 layers of colors on the paper. To make them even brighter, I use the white pen, as it will fill in the valleys created by the slice tool. Make sure the white pencil has a very sharp tip to avoid messing up the fine highlights by making them wider, and to mind the pressure or it will break and the sharp tip will be gone. A craft knife can be used as well for this method. Never forget to use very bright highlights and very dark shadows in your artworks, as they are a very important component in achieving a 3D effect. We came to an end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, learned from it, and I didn't ramble too much. Starting from now on, I am going to create color pencils, graphite, and pastel tutorials. If you'd like to see all of the new things coming soon, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up to help my channel grow, and tickle that cute bell button to be notified every time a video goes live. I wish you a nice day wherever you are, and hope we'll see each other in the next video. Bye!